Dust swirled across the African plains as the old truck bounced along the dirt road. Liam pressed his face against the window, watching zebras scatter in the distance. His Aunt Rebecca sat beside him, one hand on the steering wheel and the other, pointing toward a group of elephants near a watering hole. "See those big ones? They're heading to our center sometimes when they get hurt," Rebecca said with a smile. Liam nodded but didn't say much. He never said much these days. Not since his parents died in the accident 6 months ago. His aunt understood. That's why she brought him here to the rehabilitation center in the middle of nowhere. She thought the animals might help him heal. The truck pulled through a metal gate with a faded sign that read, "Foster Wildlife Rehabilitation Center." Inside the compound, several buildings stood surrounded by large enclosures. Liam could hear strange sounds, roars, chirps, and calls from dozens of different creatures. "Welcome home for the summer," Rebecca said as she parked near the main house. 2 workers came out to help with the bags. They were locals who had worked at the center for years. They smiled at Liam, but he just looked down at his shoes. Rebecca showed him around the facility. There were injured birds in one building, a young cheetah recovering from a trap wound in another, and various other animals that needed care before being released back into the wild. Liam followed quietly, his hands stuffed in his pockets. "And this," Rebecca said as they approached a smaller enclosure, "is our newest problem child." Inside the cage, a small creature waddled around. It looked like a badger, but with a distinctive white stripe running down its black head. The animal stopped and stared at them with small dark eyes. "That's a honey badger," Rebecca explained. "We call him Rascal. Poachers killed his mother 3 weeks ago. He's too young to survive alone in the wild yet." "He's small," Liam said softly. It was the first thing he had said in an hour. Rebecca laughed. "Small but mighty. Honey badgers are fearless. They fight lions, raid beehives, and eat venomous snakes. They have incredibly thick skin and almost feel no pain. This little guy is one of nature's toughest animals." Liam stepped closer to the cage. Rascal approached the fence and sniffed the air. Most animals at the center kept their distance from humans, but this one seemed curious. "Can I touch him?" Liam asked. "Absolutely not," Rebecca said firmly. "Honey badgers are aggressive. Even young ones can bite hard enough to break bones. Rascal tolerates us feeding him, but that's it." Over the next few days, Liam fell into a routine. He woke early, ate breakfast, and helped Rebecca with simple tasks around the center. Feeding the birds, cleaning water bowls, and carrying supplies. But every afternoon he found himself sitting near Rascal's enclosure. The honey badger seemed to recognize him. Whenever Liam appeared, Rascal would waddle over to the fence and sit. He didn't make noise or try to bite through the mesh. He just sat there, and Liam sat on the other side. "I don't understand it," Rebecca told her assistant one evening. "That badger attacks everyone except the boy. Yesterday he let Liam drop food right in front of him without hissing." "Maybe they recognize something in each other," the assistant suggested. "Both lost their mothers." Rebecca frowned but didn't argue. 2 weeks into Liam's stay, strange things started happening. The power flickered several times at night. Radio communications crackled with static. One of the satellite phones stopped working completely. "Probably just old equipment," Rebecca muttered as she tried to fix the radio. "We're due for upgrades." But it wasn't just the equipment. Animals acted nervous. The cheetah paced in its enclosure. Birds fell silent at odd hours. Even Rascal seemed agitated, sniffing the air and making low growling sounds. One night, Liam couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the African night through his open window. Suddenly, everything went quiet. The insects stopped chirping. The distant hyenas stopped calling. Complete silence. Liam sat up and looked out the window. 3 bright lights moved across the sky. They weren't planes or helicopters. They moved too smoothly, too silently. The lights descended toward the horizon and disappeared behind the hills. He wanted to tell his aunt, but decided against it. She would say they were satellites or military aircraft. Adults always had boring explanations for everything. The next morning, Rebecca checked all the equipment again. More things had stopped working. The backup generator wouldn't start. 2 of the security cameras were completely dead. "This is getting ridiculous," she said, frustrated. That afternoon, Liam sat by Rascal's enclosure as usual. The honey badger was acting strange, pacing back and forth and making anxious noises. Liam pressed his hand against the fence. "What's wrong, Rascal?" he whispered. The badger stopped and looked at him. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Then Rascal did something he had never done before. He pressed his nose against the fence where Liam's hand was, just for a second, before backing away. That night, the lights returned. Liam saw them from his bedroom window again. This time they were closer, hovering just beyond the compound. They made no sound. They cast no shadows. They simply hung in the air like stars that had fallen too close to Earth. Liam's heart beat faster. He wanted to wake Rebecca, but fear kept him frozen by the window. The light stayed for nearly an hour before rising silently and vanishing into the darkness. In his enclosure, Rascal pressed against the fence, staring toward the sky. His small body tensed, every muscle ready. Some deep instinct told him danger was approaching. Danger that threatened his territory. Danger that threatened the quiet boy who sat with him every day. The honey badger's reputation was built on one simple truth. They never backed down from a threat, no matter how large or powerful. Rascal didn't know what lurked in the darkness above. He didn't understand the strange lights or the bad feelings in the air. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty. If danger came for his human, he would fight. Something cold woke Liam in the middle of the night. Not cold like air conditioning, but cold like the feeling of being watched. His eyes opened slowly, adjusting to the darkness of his bedroom. The digital clock on his nightstand was dead. No glowing numbers. No sound from the small fan that usually ran all night. Then he saw them. 3 figures stood at the foot of his bed, tall and thin, with skin that looked gray even in the darkness. Their heads were too large for their bodies, and their eyes reflected the moonlight coming through the window like a cat's eyes. Liam tried to scream, but no sound came out. His body wouldn't move. He could breathe and blink, but everything else was frozen. Paralyzed. One of the creatures moved closer. It held a device that glowed with soft blue light. The thing made clicking sounds, not with its mouth, but from somewhere inside its throat. The other 2 creatures responded with their own clicks. Liam's mind raced with terror. This couldn't be real. Aliens didn't exist. They were just stories, movies, things that weren't supposed to be real. But here they were, standing in his bedroom, and he couldn't move or scream or run. The closest creature reached out with a 3-fingered hand. Its touch felt wrong, cold and dry like touching a lizard. It grabbed Liam's arm and pulled. The paralysis broke just enough for him to thrash weakly, but the creature was stronger than it looked. "No," Liam whimpered. "No, please." The clicking sounds got faster. The device in the creature's other hand made a humming noise. Suddenly words came from it, mechanical and emotionless. Specimen acquired. Juvenile. Healthy. Prepare containment. They were talking about him like he was an animal, like he was something to be collected and studied. Fresh terror flooded through Liam's body. He tried to fight, but his muscles barely responded. The paralysis field or whatever they had used on him was too strong. 2 creatures grabbed him, 1 on each arm. They lifted him from the bed easily. Liam kicked weakly, his feet hitting nothing but air. They carried him toward the door. "Aunt Rebecca," he tried to yell, but it came out as barely a whisper. "Help me." They took him down the hallway. Through the window, Liam could see their ship sitting in the compound yard. It was smooth and round, with no visible engines or wings. Lights pulsed along its surface in patterns that hurt to look at. The creatures carried him outside. The night air was cool on his skin. Liam could see other buildings, all dark and silent. His aunt was in there somewhere, probably frozen like he had been. Unable to help. Unable to even know what was happening. One of the creatures stopped suddenly. It made sharp clicking sounds and pointed at something. The other 2 turned to look, their large eyes scanning the darkness. From the animal enclosures came a sound, low and aggressive, a growl that didn't match any of the larger animals at the center. It was too small, too sharp. Rascal. The honey badger stood outside his enclosure. The door hung open, its electronic lock fried by whatever had shut down all the equipment. In the moonlight, his white stripe looked like war paint. The creatures clicked rapidly at each other. One pointed its device at Rascal. The translator spoke in its flat voice. Small creature. Non-threatening. Ignore and proceed. They took another step toward their ship, still carrying Liam between them. Rascal's growl got louder. The honey badger's body lowered, muscles tensing. Liam had learned about honey badgers during his time here. They were fearless. Absolutely, completely fearless. They fought animals 10 times their size. They raided beehives despite thousands of stinging bees. They ate poisonous snakes. Size meant nothing to them. Danger meant nothing to them. And right now, something was threatening the boy who sat with him every day. Rascal charged. The honey badger moved faster than something his size should be able to move. He crossed the distance in seconds, heading straight for the nearest creature. His target didn't even have time to react before Rascal leaped. Teeth and claws found the creature's leg. The alien made a sound, a high-pitched screech that was nothing like its clicking language. It dropped Liam and tried to shake the badger off, but Rascal held on with jaw strength that could crack bones. The creature stumbled backward. Its companions released Liam to help. One pulled out a rod that crackled with electricity. It jabbed the rod at Rascal. The shock that should have paralyzed or killed the small animal barely fazed him. Honey badgers had incredibly thick skin and high pain tolerance. The electricity made Rascal angry, nothing more. He released the first creature and spun toward the one with the rod. His claws raked across the alien's arm. More screeching. The rod fell to the ground. The third creature grabbed for a weapon on its belt. A small device shaped like a curved piece of metal. It pointed the device at Rascal and a beam of red light shot out. The beam missed. The creature's hand was shaking. Fear had entered its large eyes. Whatever species these beings were, they weren't warriors. They were collectors, scientists, not prepared for real combat. Rascal used his loose skin to twist in ways that seemed impossible. When the second creature tried to grab him, the badger simply rotated inside his own skin and bit down on the grasping hand. The creature screamed and let go. Blood that glowed faintly blue in the moonlight dripped from the wounds. The aliens backed toward their ship, clicking frantically. Their translator device cycled through different settings, trying to analyze the threat. Warning, warning, hostile creature, threat level reassessing, aggression extreme, pain tolerance abnormal, designation, apex predator. Apex predator. The device had figured out what Rascal was, not some harmless small animal. One of Earth's perfect killers compressed into a 15-pound package of fury and fearlessness. Liam crawled backward on the ground. The paralysis was wearing off, but his limbs still felt heavy. He watched in shock as Rascal drove the 3 aliens back. The honey badger was relentless, giving them no time to aim their weapons properly, no chance to coordinate their defense. One alien managed to reach the ship's entrance. A ramp extended down with a hiss of hydraulics. The creature stumbled up it, bleeding from multiple wounds. The other 2 followed, supporting each other. Rascal chased them right to the ramp. He bit at their heels, climbed onto one's back, and only jumped off when they were fully inside the ship. The ramp started to close. From inside the ship came more clicking sounds, but faster and higher pitched. Panic. The translator device lay on the ground where it had fallen. It continued to speak in its mechanical voice. Emergency extraction required. Ground team compromised. Native species more dangerous than assessed. Abort specimen collection. Request immediate departure authorization. The ship's lights pulsed faster. Engines that made no sound began to glow. The craft lifted slowly from the ground. Rascal stood his ground, staring up at the rising ship. His body was covered in scratches and blood, some his own, most belonging to the aliens. He showed no fear, no hesitation. If the ship came back down, he would fight again. Liam finally found his voice. "Rascal," he called weakly. The honey badger's head turned. Those small dark eyes found Liam sitting on the ground. For a moment, the wild aggression faded. Rascal waddled over and sat next to the boy, pressing against his leg. Above them, the alien ship rose higher. But it didn't leave. It hovered at a distance, lights blinking in patterns that might have been communication. Liam realized with growing dread that they weren't giving up. They were calling for help. Lights inside the compound buildings flickered back to life. The paralysis field that had frozen everyone was fading. Liam heard movement from the main house, doors opening, confused voices calling out. But his eyes stayed fixed on the ship hovering above. Something was happening. Panels on its underside slid open and objects dropped out. 6 metallic spheres, each about the size of a basketball, fell toward the compound. Before they hit the ground, wings unfolded from their sides. They weren't wings like a bird's, but thin metal blades that spun rapidly. The spheres transformed into flying machines, drones that moved through the air with insect-like precision. Red lights activated on each drone, targeting lasers that swept across the ground, across the buildings, and finally fixed on Rascal and Liam. The honey badger sensed the danger immediately. His body tensed and that low growl returned, deeper this time. Liam tried to stand, but his legs still felt weak. Rascal positioned himself between the boy and the approaching drones. The first drone dove. A high-pitched whine came from it as some kind of weapon charged. Rascal didn't wait. He leaped straight up, higher than seemed possible for an animal his size, and his claws caught the drone's smooth surface. The machine tried to shake him off by spinning wildly. Rascal hung on, his claws finding gaps between the metal plates. His teeth bit down on what looked like a sensor cluster. Sparks flew. The drone's flight became erratic. They crashed together into the dirt. Rascal was already moving before the impact, rolling away and coming up ready to fight. The damaged drone tried to lift off, but only managed to spin in circles on the ground. 2 more drones attacked from different angles. Their weapons fired, beams of concentrated energy that scorched the ground where Rascal had been standing a second before. The honey badger was too fast, too unpredictable. He zigzagged across the compound, drawing their fire away from Liam. One drone got too close. Rascal jumped onto a water barrel, using it as a springboard to launch himself at the machine. His claws raked across its surface. The drone dropped but fired its weapon in the process. The energy beam struck Rascal's side. The smell of burning fur filled the air. The hit should have killed or at least crippled the small animal. Instead, Rascal landed on his feet, shook himself once, and immediately went after another drone. Rebecca burst out of the main house, her hair wild and eyes confused. She saw the hovering ship, the attacking drones, and Liam on the ground. Her training as a veterinarian vanished, replaced by pure protective instinct. She ran toward her nephew. "Get inside," she yelled at him. "Now." But Liam couldn't move. He was frozen again. Not by alien technology this time, but by fear and shock. His aunt reached him and tried to pull him up. 3 drones redirected their attention to the humans. Their red targeting lasers painted Rebecca and Liam. The drones formed a triangle formation and began their attack run. Rascal saw them coming. The honey badger had just torn apart a 4th drone, his muzzle covered in oil and blood from the machines. He looked at the 3 drones, then at Liam and Rebecca. Simple calculation. The humans couldn't defend themselves. The badger charged the drones head-on. What happened next defied all logic and sense. A 15-pound animal attacked 3 armed flying machines, and he was winning. Rascal used everything in his environment as a weapon. He jumped off enclosure walls, swung from hanging chains, even grabbed a fallen branch and wielded it like a club to smack one drone out of the air. His fearlessness was absolute. When a drone fired at him, he ran toward the beam instead of away from it. When 2 machines tried to box him in, he attacked both simultaneously. His thick skin absorbed damage that would kill most creatures. His high pain tolerance meant injuries that should have stopped him didn't even slow him down. The other animals at the center were waking up now. The cheetah paced in her enclosure, agitated by the noise and lights. Birds screeched. From the larger enclosure at the edge of the compound came a deeper sound, a roar, the lioness. Rebecca kept 3 lions at the center, a pride that had been rescued from illegal captivity. They were scheduled for release next month. The paralysis field had affected them too, but now they were recovering. And they were angry. The alpha lioness, a massive female named Grace, tested her enclosure door. It swung open. The electronic lock had failed just like all the others. Grace stepped out, followed by the other two lions. Their eyes fixed on the hovering ship and the attacking drones. To the lions, this was their territory. The ship was an intruder. The drones were prey. Grace roared again, a sound that echoed across the compound and sent primal fear through every living thing that heard it. Except Rascal. The honey badger was beyond fear. He had entered a state that honey badgers were famous for, a battle frenzy where nothing mattered except destroying the threat. One of the drones made a mistake. It flew too low while chasing Rascal. Grace leaped, her powerful muscles launching her massive body into the air. Her paws caught the drone and smashed it into the ground. Metal crunched under her weight. The remaining two drones tried to gain altitude, but Rascal wasn't done. He climbed onto the roof of a storage building and jumped from there, catching one drone in midair. They fell together, and before the machine could recover, Rascal had torn its wing assembly apart. The last drone retreated toward the ship. Its sensors had recorded everything: the failed attack, the unexpected resistance, the deadly efficiency of Earth's predators. Inside the hovering ship, the alien commander watched the data feed with growing horror. The initial assessment had been wrong, catastrophically wrong. This wasn't a primitive backwater world with soft, harmless species. This was a death world. The commander's clicking communication became frantic. It called to the Droon home fleet, requesting immediate backup. The translator on board processed its fear into words no human would hear yet. Emergency alert. Collection team nearly eliminated. Native species exhibit extreme aggression and pain resistance. World classification incorrect. Recommend immediate reclassification to Death World status. Request combat support. On the ground, Rascal stood among the destroyed drones, his body heaving with exertion. Burns covered his side. Cuts leaked blood through his fur. But his eyes were still sharp, still focused on the ship above. Rebecca held Liam close, her mind trying to process what she had just witnessed. Her honey badger, the juvenile she had been rehabilitating, had just defeated advanced alien technology. The small creature she warned Liam never to touch had saved both their lives. Grace and her pride circled the compound, their hunting instincts fully engaged. Other animals were escaping their damaged enclosures now. A Cape buffalo, a creature that killed more people in Africa than any other animal, emerged from the north section. A black mamba, one of the world's most venomous snakes, slithered through the grass. The alien ship rose higher, putting distance between itself and the ground. But it didn't leave. The commander had called for reinforcements, and Droon military protocol required the specimen collection to be completed. Failure was not acceptable. 6 more panels opened on the ship's underside. This time what emerged weren't drones, they were soldiers. 6 figures descended from the ship on beams of blue light. Unlike the collectors who had come before, these aliens wore armor. Dark material covered their thin bodies with helmets that reflected the compound lights. Each carried a weapon, longer and more substantial than the shock rods used earlier. They landed in formation, spreading out to surround the main area where Rebecca and Liam stood. Their weapons hummed with power, aimed but not yet firing. These were Druin warriors, trained soldiers from a species that had conquered 12 worlds. The center warrior spoke through its translator. Humans, you will be detained for collection. Resistance will result in pain compliance measures. Submit now. Rebecca's arm tightened around Liam. Her other hand fumbled for her phone, but it was dead. Everything electronic was still malfunctioning from whatever the ship was doing. No way to call for help. No way to contact anyone outside the compound. "We're not going anywhere with you," she said, her voice shaking but firm. The warrior tilted its head. "Choice is irrelevant. Galactic Collection Protocol authorizes specimen acquisition from uncontacted worlds. You are specimens. Resistance is illogical." Rascal limped forward, placing himself between the aliens and the humans again. His body was damaged, bleeding, exhausted. But he showed no sign of backing down. The honey badger stared at the 6 armored soldiers with the same fearless intensity he had shown the drones. One warrior pointed its weapon at Rascal. Small creature displayed unexpected aggression. Recommend neutralization. Before it could fire, Grace roared from the shadows. The lioness stepped into the light, flanked by her pride. 3 adult lions, each weighing over 300 pounds, their eyes reflecting the ship's glow. Apex predators that had ruled African plains for millions of years. The warriors' weapons shifted to track the new threats. Their helmet displays showed threat assessments, danger calculations running through alien algorithms. But the numbers didn't match their training. Lions were supposed to be afraid of technology, of weapons, of organized opponents. These lions weren't afraid of anything. Grace charged first. Her body was built for hunting, muscles designed to take down prey larger than herself. She crossed the distance in seconds, moving with speed that seemed impossible for something her size. The warriors fired. Energy beams lit up the night. Most missed. The lions moved with predatory grace, weaving and dodging on instinct. One beam caught Grace's shoulder, but she didn't stop. Pain was temporary. The threat to her territory was immediate. She hit the nearest warrior like a truck. Armor designed to deflect energy weapons offered little protection against 800 pounds of muscle and fury. The alien went down. Grace's jaws closed around its arm. The warrior screamed, a sound just as terrible as the screams from the collectors earlier. The other 2 lions attacked from different angles. Drone combat training emphasized ranged weapons and tactical positioning. They weren't prepared for close-quarters combat with predators that had evolved to kill with teeth and claws. Rascal joined the fight. Despite his injuries, the honey badger went straight for the warrior who had threatened to neutralize him. He climbed the alien's leg, found gaps in the armor at the joints, and bit down. His jaws could crack turtle shells. Alien armor joints were no match. Rebecca pulled Liam toward the main house. "Run!" she shouted. They ran, but 2 warriors broke from the fight and pursued, their weapons charged, ready to fire. Rebecca knew she couldn't outrun energy beams. She pushed Liam ahead and turned to face the aliens, ready to sacrifice herself to buy him time. A massive shape emerged from the darkness. The Cape buffalo, all 2,000 pounds of muscle and horns and bad temper. Cape buffalo were known as Black Death for a reason. They killed more hunters in Africa than any other species. They held grudges. They remembered threats, and right now these aliens were very much a threat. The buffalo lowered its head and charged. Both warriors turned to face it, firing their weapons. The beams struck the buffalo's thick hide. The animal bellowed in pain and rage but didn't stop. Momentum carried it forward like a living battering ram. The impact sent both warriors flying. One crashed into a building wall. The other landed in the dirt, its weapon skittering away. The buffalo didn't stop. It trampled the grounded warrior, then turned to chase the other. Inside the ship, alarms blared. The commander watched feeds from the soldiers' helmet cameras. Each feed showed chaos, lions attacking, a small badger that refused to die or retreat, a massive buffalo that shrugged off direct hits from military-grade weapons. This is impossible, the commander clicked to itself. Specimens cannot fight trained warriors. Specimens do not have combat capability. But the evidence was undeniable. The commander pulled up Earth's file in the drone database. The file was old, compiled from a brief survey mission decades ago. It listed Earth as a quiet world with abundant primitive life. Ocean creatures examined. No significant threats detected. The ocean survey had missed everything important. It hadn't explored the land, hadn't documented the predators, hadn't understood that Earth was a crucible where only the strong survived, where every species had to be deadly just to live another day. The commander made a decision. It activated the quantum communicator, the device used only for emergencies. The signal would take minutes to reach the Droon homeworld, but reach it would. The Galactic Council needed to know. Earth had been misclassified. On the ground, 2 warriors were down. 3 struggled with the lions. One had lost its weapon to Rascal, who now held the device in his mouth and was systematically destroying it by bashing it against rocks. The last warrior standing managed to activate a recall beacon. Blue beams shot down from the ship, grabbing each soldier and pulling them up. The lions tried to follow but couldn't jump that high. Grace roared in frustration as her prey was lifted away. Rascal dropped the destroyed weapon and watched the warriors ascend. His body finally showed signs of exhaustion. He swayed on his feet, then sat down hard. Blood matted his fur, burns covered his side. But he was alive. Rebecca emerged from the house carrying 2 items, a satellite phone she kept in a Faraday cage for emergencies, and her rifle. The rifle was for putting down dangerous animals when necessary. Tonight it was for aliens. She dialed emergency services. The line connected. "This is Dr. Rebecca Foster at the Wildlife Center. We're under attack by an unidentified aircraft. Multiple injuries. Send police, military, anyone." The operator tried to ask questions, but Rebecca cut her off. "Just send everyone. Tell them to look for the lights in the sky. They can't miss it." Far above, in Earth's orbit, defense satellites detected the unusual activity. Human Space Force had expanded since first achieving orbital capability. 3 interceptor craft were stationed at various points around the planet. The closest one received an alert: unknown vessel hovering over African coordinates. No transponder signal. Not responding to hails. Possible hostile action. The interceptor launched, its engines pushing it toward the atmosphere. Pilot Officer Collins had trained for this scenario. Enemy spacecraft entering Earth's airspace. It seemed impossible, like something from old science fiction movies. But her instruments were clear. Something was out there. "Command, this is Interceptor 7, Collins reported. "I have visual on unknown craft. Confirming hostile signature. Awaiting instructions." "Interceptor 7, you are authorized to engage if threatened. Attempt communication first." Collins switched to open frequency. "Unidentified vessel, this is Earth Defense Force. You are in restricted airspace. Identify yourself and your intentions immediately." The drone commander received the transmission. Its translator processed the human language. Earth Defense Force. The planet had military capability. It had detected their ship. The situation was deteriorating rapidly. "This is collection vessel Swift Current," the commander responded. "We are conducting authorized specimen acquisition under Galactic Collection Protocol. We will depart shortly." Collins didn't understand half of what she heard, but the words, specimen acquisition, were clear enough. They were trying to take people. Her hand moved to weapons control. Swift current. Specimen acquisition of humans is called kidnapping. "Power down your ship and prepare to be boarded." The commander made a sound like coughing. "Boarded? This primitive species thought it could board a drone vessel? Negative. We are leaving your system. This encounter is concluded." But the ship didn't move. The commander knew it couldn't. The quantum message to drone homeworld was still transmitting. Breaking off now would interrupt the signal. And the council needed to know about Earth. The truth about this death world had to be reported. Collins saw the ship wasn't complying. Her targeting computer locked on. "Swift current, this is your final warning. Power down or I will open fire." Below, Rascal finally collapsed. His body had reached its limit. Rebecca ran to him, her veterinary training taking over. She checked his breathing, his pulse. Both were weak but steady. The honey badger's eyes opened briefly, found Liam standing nearby, then closed again. "You crazy little warrior," Rebecca whispered, her voice breaking. "You saved us." Liam knelt beside them. Tears ran down his face. "Is he going to die?" "Not if I can help it." Rebecca picked up Rascal carefully. The honey badger didn't resist. She carried him toward the medical building. Above them, the standoff continued. The ship and the interceptor neither willing to back down, one waiting for its message to complete, the other ready to defend humanity's first ever contact with alien life. And it had gone very, very wrong. 2 more interceptors arrived within 20 minutes. They formed a triangle around the alien ship, weapons armed and targeting systems locked. The drone vessel was trapped. Any attempt to flee would result in Earth's fighters opening fire, and the commander knew the Swift Current was not a warship. It was built for collection, not combat. Inside the medical building, Rebecca worked on Rascal with steady hands despite her shaking nerves. She cleaned wounds, applied burn cream designed for large animals, and gave him an injection for pain and infection. The honey badger's breathing stabilized. His incredible healing ability, another trait of his species, was already beginning to work. Liam sat next to the examination table, his hand resting near Rascal's head. The badger's eyes were closed, but occasionally he made small sounds, aware of the boy's presence even in his exhausted state. "Will he recover?" Liam asked quietly. Rebecca nodded. "Honey badgers are survivors. He'll need rest and treatment, but yes, he'll recover." She paused, looking at the small creature who had fought so fiercely. "I've studied these animals for 10 years. I've never seen anything like what he did tonight." Outside, military vehicles arrived. Jeeps and trucks carrying soldiers poured through the center's gate. An officer approached Rebecca as she emerged from the medical building. "Dr. Foster? Colonel Andrews, African Defense Command. Are you and your nephew injured?" "Physically, we're fine." Rebecca gestured toward the hovering ship. "But we were attacked. They tried to take Liam. They said something about specimen collection." Andrews looked up at the ship, his jaw tight. "We've established a perimeter. 3 interceptors have the craft contained. We've attempted communication, but they're giving us protocols and regulations about galactic collection rights. They seem to think they have legal authority to kidnap humans." "Do they?" "Not by Earth law, that's for damn sure." More vehicles arrived. These were different civilian vehicles with government plates. Men and women in suits emerged, carrying equipment and speaking urgently into phones. The situation had escalated beyond military response. First contact with alien life, and it was happening at a wildlife rehabilitation center in Africa because of an attempted abduction. One woman approached Rebecca directly. She was older, with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Dr. Foster, I'm Director Patricia Hall, United Earth Diplomatic Corps. I need to know everything that happened tonight." Rebecca told the story. The paralysis field, the attempted abduction, Rascal's defense, the drones, the warriors, the lions and buffalo joining the fight. Director Hall listened without interrupting, her expression growing more intense with each detail. "And the honey badger is still alive?" Hall asked. "Barely. He's resting inside." Hall pulled out a tablet and began typing rapidly. "This changes everything. They came here expecting no resistance. They encountered one of Earth's most fearless predators defending a human child. Then they faced lions and a Cape buffalo. Every species they fought is precisely the kind of animal that makes Earth a death world." "What's a death world?" Rebecca asked. "Galactic classification for planets where the environment is so hostile that life becomes hyper-competitive and dangerous. Worlds where predators evolve extreme traits. High gravity, dangerous wildlife, aggressive diseases. Most species avoid death worlds. Apparently someone classified Earth wrong. Above them, the Droon commander finally received confirmation that the quantum message had been received. The Galactic Council was reviewing Earth's file. Until they responded, the commander was ordered to maintain position and avoid further conflict. A new voice came through the ship's communication system. Not human. This voice clicked and hummed, but the universal translator converted it to perfect English. "This is Counselor Reth of the Galactic Assembly. Swift Current, your emergency report has been reviewed. We are sending a diplomatic vessel immediately. Estimated arrival in 2 hours. You are ordered to cease all collection activities and remain in place." The human interceptors received the same message. Pilot Officer Collins responded. "Galactic Council, this is Earth Defense. Your vessel attempted to kidnap a human child from our planet. We consider this an act of war." There was a pause. Then Counselor Reth spoke again, and this time the translator captured something that might have been alarm. "War? No. This was a mistake. Earth's classification in our database is incorrect. Collection vessels are authorized only on worlds with primitive life. We were not informed Earth had a sapient species." "Not informed?" Collins's voice was cold. "Your ship spoke to us. Your translator worked. How could you not know we were sapient?" Another pause, longer this time. Finally, Reth responded. "The Swift Current is a biological collection vessel. They collect animals for preservation and study. The crew assumed humans were animals because Earth was listed as having no sapient life. This is a severe classification error. The Council apologizes deeply." Director Hall grabbed a radio from Colonel Andrews. "This is Director Hall representing United Earth. Your apology means nothing until you explain how such an error occurred. We've been watching the stars for decades. We've sent signals. How could you miss us?" Counselor Reth's response came slowly, as if the alien was choosing words carefully. "Your world was surveyed 60 years ago by automated probes. They sampled only your oceans and reported abundant aquatic life, but no signs of civilization. The survey was brief and incomplete. Earth was marked as a collection-authorized world and never reviewed again. The error is ours. The consequences could have been catastrophic. Could have been. Rebecca grabbed the radio from Hall. They terrorized my nephew. They hurt animals under my protection. One of my honey badgers almost died defending us. This isn't hypothetical harm. It happened. Honey badger, Reth said, and something in the translator's tone suggested recognition. Please confirm. Did a member of species Mellivora capensis engage the collection team? Yes, anyone. Silence from the council. Then clicking sounds that might have been alien conversation. Finally, Reth spoke again. Dr. Foster, the council would like to see footage of this encounter. Our database has limited information on Earth's land species. We need to understand what your world truly is. Over the next hour, Rebecca and Colonel Andrews compiled video from security cameras that had still been recording despite the power failures. Backup batteries had captured everything. The footage was transmitted to the orbiting ship and from there to the Galactic Council. The council chambers, located on a station halfway across the galaxy, fell silent as the representatives watched. They saw Rascal attack the collectors. They saw him destroy drones. They saw the Lions join the fight, the Cape Buffalo charge, and through it all a small badger refusing to yield despite injuries that should have killed him. Counselor Reth watched with particular attention. His species, the Voth, were herbivores from a low-gravity world with mild climates. They had never encountered predators. Their evolution had followed a path of cooperation and intelligence, not competition and aggression. The footage showed them a type of life they could barely comprehend. Pause it there, Reth said. The image froze on Rascal standing over a destroyed drone, his body covered in wounds but his eyes still focused on the ship above. This creature weighs what, 12 kilograms? Approximately 7 kilograms, another counselor responded, reading from Earth's wildlife database that they were now frantically searching. Average adult honey badger mass. 7 kilograms, Reth repeated. And it defeated 6 combat drones plus multiple armored soldiers. The damage assessment shows it fought for nearly 30 minutes without retreating once. He looked around the chamber. How many of our species could do that? No one answered. They all knew the truth. Most galactic species were from peaceful worlds. They had evolved past violence, relying on technology and cooperation. None of them could match what this small Earth creature had accomplished. Another counselor, this one from a species that resembled floating jellyfish, spoke up. I have reviewed Earth's wildlife database further. This honey badger is not even close to Earth's apex predators. The planet has creatures called tigers, bears, crocodiles, and great white sharks. Each is exponentially more dangerous than what we just witnessed. And humans? Reth asked. Where do they rank? The jellyfish counselor's translator conveyed something like nervous laughter. Humans are persistence hunters. They can run prey to exhaustion over days. They have proportional strength, allowing them to throw projectiles with lethal accuracy. They sweat, which lets them operate in heat that would kill most species. They can survive injuries through sheer willpower, and most remarkably, they befriend these apex predators. Dr. Foster's facility intentionally houses creatures that could kill her. Earth humans do this routinely. Reth felt something he had not experienced in his long life. Fear. Not immediate physical fear, but the deeper fear of understanding just how wrong things could have gone. If the swift current had successfully taken the child, if the honey badger hadn't intervened, humanity's first contact with the galactic community would have been an act of kidnapping. Initiate emergency reclassification, Reth ordered. Earth is to be designated a Class 12 Death World, protected status. No collection vessels, no unauthorized contact. Full diplomatic protocols required. He paused. And someone send a commendation request for that honey badger. It may have saved both our species from a war. The diplomatic vessel arrived exactly 2 hours later, much larger than the swift current, and marked with symbols that represented the Galactic Council. It positioned itself between the Droon collection ship and the Earth interceptors, a neutral party meant to prevent any further conflict. A shuttle descended from the diplomatic vessel, landing in the compound with barely a sound. The hatch opened and 3 beings emerged. Counselor Reth was first, his body covered in fine scales that shimmered green and gold. Behind him came 2 others, one resembling a tall insect and another that looked almost like a floating brain with tentacles. Colonel Andrews met them with a full military escort. Director Hall stood beside him, along with Rebecca and 24 other Earth officials who had arrived throughout the night. Liam watched from the medical building window, one hand resting on Rascal's sleeping form. Counselor Reth approached with slow, deliberate movements, his body language conveying what the translator confirmed as deep apology. People of Earth, I am Counselor Reth. On behalf of the Galactic Assembly, I offer profound apologies for what occurred here tonight. A terrible error has been made. Director Hall stepped forward. An error that nearly resulted in the abduction of a child. Yes. Reth didn't make excuses. Our classification of your world was outdated and incomplete. This is inexcusable. The Swift Current's crew followed legal protocols based on false information. They believed Earth was uninhabited by sapient species. They were wrong. And now? Colonel Andrews asked. What happens to them? The crew will face discipline for failing to verify current data before beginning collection. The captain will be removed from duty. But the greater fault lies with the Council's survey systems. We failed to properly assess your world 60 years ago. That failure is ours to bear. One of the other aliens, the insect-like being, spoke through its own translator.
I am Surveyor Click. I have been reviewing Earth's true classification data.
Your planet registers as Class 12 Death World, high gravity, aggressive predator species, extreme weather patterns, disease pressure, and widespread environmental hazards. Only 7 other known worlds match this classification. All are considered extremely dangerous. Rebecca felt a strange mix of pride and concern at those words. Earth was dangerous by galactic standards. Humans had evolved in a crucible that most species never experienced. We survived it, she said simply. We adapted, more than adapted, Click responded. You thrived. Your species achieved sapience despite existing in one of the galaxy's most hostile environments. This is remarkable. Most death worlds produce either non-sapient predators or, rarely, sapient species that remain trapped at primitive technological levels due to constant survival pressures. You achieved both intelligence and cooperation while surrounded by threats. Counselor Reth gestured toward the medical building. We understand a honey badger defended the child. May we see this creature? Rebecca hesitated. He's resting. He was badly injured. We will not disturb him. But the council must understand what occurred. The footage shows remarkable behavior. We need context. They entered the medical building quietly. Liam stood guard next to the examination table where Rascal slept under light sedation. The honey badger's wounds were bandaged, his breathing steady but shallow. The 3 aliens stared at the small animal in silence. Click scanned him with a device that hummed softly. 15 pounds. Injured but recovering. This creature fought 6 combat drones and 3 armored soldiers. The combat footage shows 0 hesitation, 0 fear response, complete aggression until threat eliminated. That's what honey badgers do, Rebecca explained. They're fearless. It's built into their nature. They fight animals 10 times their size. They raid beehives despite being stung thousands of times. They eat venomous snakes. Fear doesn't exist in their behavioral patterns. Impossible, the brain-like alien said through its translator. Fear is universal. It's a survival mechanism. Species without fear become extinct. Not on Earth. Rebecca moved closer to Rascal protectively. On Earth, fear can get you killed. Sometimes the only way to survive is to attack first and never back down. Rascal and his species learned that lesson millions of years ago. Counselor Reth observed Liam standing guard next to the honey badger. The boy and the animal have bonded? Liam nodded. He saved me. When those things tried to take me, Rascal stopped them. He got hurt protecting me. And you care for him? Of course I do. Liam's voice was firm despite his tears. He's my friend. Reth made a sound like wind chimes, which his translator indicated as amazement. You befriend creatures that could kill you. Humans live alongside apex predators. You care for them, heal them, release them back to the wild where they might encounter other humans. This is not logical. Maybe not, Rebecca said, but it's who we are. We share this planet with thousands of species. Some are dangerous, yes, but they belong here just like we do. We don't have the right to erase them just because they're scary. The galactic representatives exchanged looks that transcended language. They were beginning to understand something profound about humanity. This wasn't a species that had conquered their world through dominance alone. Humans had learned to coexist with danger, to respect predators while defending themselves when necessary. Over the next several hours, negotiations began in earnest. The Swift Current would leave Earth immediately with its crew facing charges. The Galactic Council would pay reparations to Earth, to Rebecca's center, and to Liam specifically for the trauma suffered. More importantly, Earth would receive full diplomatic recognition. You will be invited to join the Galactic Assembly, Counselor Rath explained. Your world will receive protected status. No unauthorized visits. No collection activities. Full trade and cultural exchange rights. Earth will take its place among the galactic community. Director Hall reviewed the terms carefully. And the reclassification? Earth is officially a death world? Yes. This designation comes with certain implications. Other species may fear you. There will be prejudice to overcome. But there will also be respect. Death world species are rare. Those that achieve space travel are rarer still. You will be unique among the assembly. Because we're dangerous? Colonel Andrews asked. Because you're survivors, Click corrected. Because you evolved in hell and came out stronger for it. Because a 15-pound mammal can defeat trained soldiers and you see this as normal. The galaxy needs to understand what Earth truly is. Dawn broke over the compound. The alien ships prepared to depart, leaving behind quantum communicators and initial diplomatic protocols. Earth's first contact hadn't gone as anyone imagined, but perhaps it had gone exactly as it needed to. The galaxy learned humans weren't helpless. Humans learned they weren't alone. And both sides learned that assumptions could be deadly. Rascal woke slowly, his eyes blinking open to find Liam still sitting beside him. The honey badger made a soft sound, not aggressive or fearful, just acknowledging the boy's presence. Liam smiled for the first time since his parents died. Hey, buddy, he whispered. You're going to be okay. Rebecca checked Rascal's vital signs and nodded with satisfaction. He'll make a full recovery. Another few weeks of treatment and he can be released. Released? Liam's face fell. But he saved us. Can't he stay? Honey badgers are wild animals, Liam. They belong in the wild, not in cages or houses. Rascal fought to protect you, and you can honor that by letting him go back to where he belongs. Liam understood, even though it hurt. He spent the next 3 weeks helping care for Rascal during his recovery. The honey badger tolerated the attention with uncharacteristic patience, as if he understood the boy needed this connection. News of the first contact spread across Earth. The footage of Rascal's defense became famous. The small honey badger who fought aliens and won became a symbol of Earth's entry into the galactic community. Tourists came to the center hoping to see him. Scientists wanted to study him. The Galactic Council requested his genetic data for their files. Rebecca refused most requests. Rascal wasn't a spectacle or a test subject. He was just an animal doing what his instincts commanded. The fact that those instincts had saved lives and prevented war was significant to humans and aliens, but meaningless to the honey badger himself. The day came for Rascal's release. They drove to a remote area of the reserve, far from human settlements. Liam carried the transport cage carefully. Rebecca opened it in a clearing surrounded by acacia trees. Rascal emerged slowly, testing his healed limbs. The burns had faded, leaving only slight discoloration under his fur. He looked around, smelling the air, orienting himself to the wild territory. Go on, Liam said softly, tears running down his face. You're free. The honey badger looked back at the boy one last time. What passed between them was beyond words or thought. An acknowledgement. A connection that would exist even after they parted. Then Rascal waddled into the bush, moving with that fearless confidence that defined his species. They watched him disappear into the grass. Rebecca put her hand on Liam's shoulder. You'll see him again. Honey badgers have territories. He'll pass through this area regularly. I know. Liam wiped his eyes. I just wanted to say thank you. Months passed. Earth's diplomatic relations with the Galactic Assembly grew stronger. Trade began. Cultural exchanges. Human scientists gained access to alien technology. Alien researchers studied Earth's biodiversity with careful restrictions and proper protocols. The Rehabilitation Center received funding from both Earth governments and galactic sources. Rebecca became humanity's unofficial ambassador for wildlife conservation, explaining to alien species why protecting dangerous predators mattered. Her message resonated. Several death worlds in the assembly had lost species to fear-based extinction. Earth showed there was another way. Liam stayed with Rebecca permanently. His relatives agreed it was best. He was healing, slowly but surely, finding purpose in caring for the animals his aunt rehabilitated. He grew taller, stronger, learning everything Rebecca could teach him about wildlife. One evening, nearly a year after the incident, Liam sat outside watching the sunset. Movement in the grass caught his eye. A distinctive white stripe approached through the tall vegetation. Rascal emerged, older and larger now, bearing new scars from his wildlife. The honey badger stopped 10 feet away, regarding Liam with those same fearless eyes. "Hey, buddy," Liam said quietly. "I missed you." Rascal made a soft chattering sound. He moved closer, almost within touching distance, then sat down. They stayed that way as darkness fell, boy and honey badger united by a bond forged in terror and defended with courage. Above them, stars filled the sky. Some of those points of light were now familiar. Ships passed regularly. Traders and diplomats, researchers and tourists, all coming to see Earth, the death world that chose cooperation over conquest. And somewhere in galactic assembly records filed under Earth's official classification was a note that made alien readers pause in confusion and wonder. Primary defensive capability unknown. Secondary defensive capability wildlife. Note: small mammals display extreme aggression and fearlessness. Approach with extreme caution. Refer to file Honey Badger Incident. In the compound, Liam stood and stretched. Rascal watched him for another moment, then turned and disappeared back into the night. The honey badger had a territory to patrol, threats to face, a wildlife to live, but he would be back. The connection remained. Between a boy who learned strength from a small, fierce creature and a honey badger who once defended his friend against impossible odds. Earth's first contact hadn't been with human warriors or advanced technology. It had been with a 15-pound ball of fury and fearlessness who taught the galaxy a simple lesson: never underestimate Earth, never threaten its children, and definitely, absolutely never mess with the honey badger.